You are listening to the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Freebus, aka Shut Your Trap. Joining me as always, halfway across the world, Jared Morgan.
Hello there.
Howdy. So, folks, sorry, but no interviews today. Just I'll get that out of the way right now.
What was that? Sorry, you glitched out. Maybe it's my end.
Oh, well, I just said for the non-glitching portion of our audio, no interviews today.
No, we've spent all of our interview cash at the moment. So yeah, this will just be an offline show.
Yeah, which is fine. But what's the hubbub just in general going on there?
No, look, not a lot really. It's just work is very busy at the moment for me. I've just on Monday will be my 1 month anniversary of joining Credit Sense, so that's pretty exciting. It's gone very fast because I've been very busy. So yeah, it's been fun. A very good bunch of people there.
Busy can be good. We'll accept that. Yeah, our end, it's start of summer. That's about the extent of things.
Yeah, right.
We as some of you I know some of you have discovered. So we record our podcast, obviously, live using YouTube, and then that video actually gets sent immediately as soon as we're done. So if you ever feel like watching an unedited version of our podcast, no sound effects in the order that we actually record it, it's available. And some people actually do pay attention and watch it. Some people go so far as to even comment on it.
They do?
And they do. And I wanted to kind of highlight one person's comment because they have way more information than myself or Jared are even capable of knowing. So,
all right.
So this is from Grindworks, and they say this was in reference to us. It was our speculation episode. That's what it was.
All right.
So it says the speculation about SPA TPA code base is naive.
Oh.
Yeah, way to ingratiate yourself to us, but okay. Because honestly, we don't know the code base, so yes, it is naive.
Yes, you are correct. We don't know.
Yeah. So we're going to allow Grindworks to educate us.
Yeah, okay, sure.
He says, or she says, who knows? The native code is for ARM and running on an embedded Linux OS. And when Farsight compiled this for Stern Pinball Arcade, they needed to make a number of adjustments. Regarding the LCD screen on the new Sterns, this is simply an H.264 stream that is running on a second ARM board. I think about it like a cheap Roku stick, and isn't an issue when it comes to technical emulation. The real problem is screen real estate. Continues. Okay. Stern has always wanted the SPA app to be a place for people to learn about the actual tables, and they have never experienced any substantial direct revenue benefit from TPA or SPA. And when the Spike system was designed, the idea was to have simultaneous real and virtual releases of table. A better question is who Scientific is partnered with for the reproducing tables for future simultaneous physical and virtual release. Will we see some of the popular games like Addams Family and Twilight Zone get the Chicago-style remake along with proper VR release? Managing licenses has overhead, so I can guarantee that there is no net value to continue with a company like Farsight.
Well, yeah, it sounds like that person doesn't have an axe to grind at all. Totally impartial. But the information about, if you can filter all that out and listen
please filter it because I don't have a clue what they're talking about.
So what they're saying is that because Spike is a distributed computing system, so it's got boards that drive discrete parts of the pinball machine rather than one big board. What he's saying is the video feed is essentially just H.264 is essentially like DivX, if you know what DivX is. So it's that codec, and it's just spewing out video. So all they do is they take that and present it into like a separate area on the screen is what he's saying. So it'd almost be like just picture in picture. And it would just render it on the fly, apparently, from what this person's saying.
Right. So in other words, it's not going to be hogging up a whole bunch more processing power. It's literally kind of like running an audio file.
Essentially, yeah, it's like writing a movie to an extent, but I think there's going to be some interactivity with it. So, of course, you need to display things like scores, and you need to trigger the display to display things when it is. So there is going to be some degree of orchestration required, but from what this person suggests, it's not going to be like we don't have to render the stream. It's just the streams will be there. They'll just be called on demand, essentially.
Okay.
So that's good. That'll be a lot easier. It sounds like what they might have is like a video loop, and then they overlay the scores over the top of the video loop, sort of thing.
Sure.
That's what it seems like to me. And so it's ARM-based Linux that the Spike system is using. Okay, so ARM is a processor type, processor architecture, which is often used on Android and sort of like those smaller form factor devices, which would make sense because each of those little boards in the Spike system would have to have their own processor to actually orchestrate the stuff that's on the board. So if that's the case, what he was saying is that Farsight need to recompile for their particular system. So interesting. That information was good. The rest, well, thanks for your time. But
well, I like to now and then give dissenting opinions a shot at us. But the point being, folks, we do appreciate. Hey, if you got information that we don't, please
call us out on it.
Call us out on it, and we'll be happy to spread proper information. The info that was just dropped there is completely out of my wheelhouse.
Someone in mind, but I didn't know the details of the specifics of how they've done it. So I've learned something today. So thank you, person on YouTube, for doing that.
The more you know. Do 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 do. And I'll just put this out here now too. Hey, if you want to comment on video, go for it. Do that. If you want to comment directly to us, you can also do that. Our email is BlahCade@gmail.com, and I should say blah is, if you can't guess, BLAH. Just
the correct way of spelling it.
Exactly. What else is going on? Well, it looks like the Arcuda key for cabinets got released. And with that release, Jared and I, as well as the people that bought it, received an email that basically stated this is they're getting it into the hands of the customers right now.
Yeah.
But there are bugs. Arcuda's aware of bugs, and Farsight is going to be working on these bugs up to the June 30th cutoff point. And the reason why they're going to be working on these is because Arcuda is making them.
Yes.
When you're a company that hired another company to do something, you get that ability to say, hey,
make
worky. Ours is more important. Ours has a deadline.
Yes. A fast, rapidly approaching deadline.
So, understandably, though, there's some frustration among the people that have purchased that. We're hoping things were going to be working flawlessly, and there's issues. So some of those issues kind of depend on your setup. One person that said they have the 3-monitor cab setup said works beautifully, have no problems. People that have the 2-monitor setup, theirs is a little more dancing that has to be done with finessing the program, apparently. So there's that. Apparently, there is only one true cabinet view right now. The other three views look like they're straight out of Pinball Arcade.
All right. Okay.
So people are obviously, understandably, ticked about that.
Yeah, fair call.
When they exited the game and then came back to the game, it didn't stay on the cabinet view, so they would have to switch it. And then if they turned on another table, they'd have to switch it again to camera view. So somebody figured out a way to the command prompt to keep it locked in on, I guess it's camera 4. So that as soon as you start up your cab, that's what's displaying. Okay. Most of the people that are commenting, it sounds like these are all the people that did the $149 Steam unlock. So I don't know, and I'm assuming it's going to be the same issue for those that did the $500 purchase also.
They won't be able to tell, though, until they get the cabinet, because it won't work on a homebrew cabinet.
No, there's two different versions of the 500. There's the Arcuda 500, and then there's the just regular 500.
The Arcuda with all the tables unlocked.
Right.
500, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So point being, folks, apply the pressure, man. Say what they need the bug reports. Say what you're finding, say what the problems are, say how, if you're finding solutions or whatever. And by and large, the group that are commenting on this are doing exactly that.
Right.
None of this, oh, my game's broken, and they just don't stop off. Yeah, they're being very specific with their feedback.
Excellent. That's excellent to hear.
One person did a comparison between well, they apparently have two different cabs, because they had a 2-monitor cab and a 3-monitor cab. And they compared it also with the NoX mod, which is what the
communities created
mod was. Yeah. And their conclusion was that the 3-monitor setup was a 9 out of 10. The 2-monitor setup was a 7 out of 10. Right. And the NoX mod is a 6.5 out of 10. Okay. So they were still saying that they like it better than what was available, but
only at the moment.
Yeah, but they kind of feel like, and what they're also saying is, some tables looks great, other tables, what the hell is going on?
Oh, really?
So like they were saying that some tables the back glass looks nice and is animated, but other tables, say and we pointed this out, Black Hole, there ain't no animation going on other than the score. So
that's no good.
It's not spinning. It's not doing a light dance. It's not doing anything. So, like I said, there's a lot that needs to be done, and Arcuda is aware of this. They figure it's better to get it into the customer's hands early and let you guys kind of source out a lot of the bugs that you find, as well as their list that they're currently aware of, just in case they've missed anything. But they are, like I said, Farsight will be working on this. I don't understand why Farsight couldn't work on this post June 30th, but I will say this. Arcuda is probably saying, do it by now. This is what our customers expect, and they're the ones setting the cutoff date. And my best guess is, if some things are missed, if some things aren't implemented, after that, Farsight will still be able to deal with those things. But I believe so. I think this is Arcuda putting the hand to the fire.
Screws on. Yeah, totally. Because it's like, go on, get on with it and make this thing the best it possibly can be, while we can actually promote it positively.
Exactly.
And actually get the sales that we need to get before we can't physically sell this thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's just more like I think, I don't know how the licensing thing is going to work, but you'd think that, if you already have the tables, you could continue to buy the 149 unlock only option past June 30, because what would you be getting with that? I'm not saying this is possible, but I'm theorizing here. It's like, what are you getting with that? You're getting the ability to unlock the tables you already own, because you have to have the licenses for those tables to be able to unlock the tables in the game. So why wouldn't it be possible to actually continue to sell that? I don't know.
Why didn't we ask that question when we had Mike or Bobby on?
Yeah, that would have been a good one to ask. We might actually follow up. We might actually follow up with them about that, because that's a really interesting proposition, right? Because what would be the licensing disadvantage for that? They're not actually. It's just essentially a game mode that you're unlocking the TPA. So
it's on disc DLC. It's already there.
Yeah, it's on this. You're unlocking a mode essentially. You're paying to unlock a cabinet mode. So it's an interesting.
The only thing I can think of is, unless Williams is also getting a cut of this.
Oh, it's possible.
I mean, if they're getting a cut, that's why. Then that would be all the answer that you need.
Yeah, that would be the very cut and fast answer to that, wouldn't it? So yeah, it would be interesting to ask. Maybe we'll see if we can get an answer out of either Arcuda or Farsight on that one.
Yeah, and I do plan on. I was planning on going up to Farsight in the next 2 weeks. Arcuda has requested that I delay that slightly because they got some things that they're sending to Farsight.
Oh, I see.
And so they want me to be able to see basically the cabinet that Farsight has is the same cabinet that Arcuda's had available for 3 years now.
Yeah.
So it's not the newfangled new design that they have, but this cabinet is able to do all the things that the new cabinet will be able to do. So it just doesn't look like aesthetically as nice. So functionality there, and so that's why Arcud is still sending boards and everything to Farsight to have implemented. So I guess they've got something that they're preparing right now and is in transit or whatever, and they're like, we're not sure if it's going to be there quite by the time you get there. So if you can delay, so we'll see. But if we don't get the question answered by then, I'll certainly, when I'm at Farsight, ask the question point blank and
see if we can get an answer about it.
See if we can get an answer. Yeah, exactly.
Because we're officially in June now. We're on the launch pad essentially.
That's right.
For this, so yeah,
countdown clock is ticking.
It's ticking, yeah. So, well, it's good to see that the community is really doing the right thing there and really like highlighting all the bugs they need to do in the constructive way they need to do it. So excellent, great work.
Yeah, there one comment popped in and was just like, started doing I don't know why I have to pay for this Farsight promised it 4 years ago. I was just like, oh my God,
you are not the customer.
Fortunately, everybody just ignored him and didn't even pay attention. And I was like, okay.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. And we're trying, just for those that do frequent the Pinball Arcade fan forum and have been commenting on this particular thread, the request has been put in to make an actual Arcuda cabinet thread dedicated and not just part of a general thread. But we have to have our webmaster create that. So hopefully that'll be implemented, and then you'll be able to have an actual dedicated place to talk about all of this stuff compiled.
Yeah. So well, that'll be good.
Yeah. What else is new? Well,
we did see the newsletter come out from Farsight. I don't know if you got that. It was pretty much had the info we already knew, you know. Which is let me just go and open up the email. It was a short newsletter. The newsletters at the moment, I wish there was something they could put in there extra that would make it a little bit more spicier, because they're sort of they're a little bit light on the fun stuff that used to be in there, you know, how you always used how you always used to have the great information that you go, oh yes, it's a newsletter, I can't wait to read this. So in this newsletter number 75, there was a plug for pinball tournaments. Compete for real cash.
I have.
Yes, you have.
I have. I just went live yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they did that. They also put the T-minus 29 days left. It was only 29 days left to go until you can't buy any more tables. Then they actually did an announcement in there for Pinball Arcade cabinet mode, and they had a nice animated GIF for Arcuda burning away. It looks really cool. They highlighted in 3 different versions, which was Pinball cabinet mode for Steam PC, standalone product for existing virtual video pinball owners, and deluxe product for Arcuda video pinball cabinet owners. And they highlight the things we already know. So, you know, it's got dot matrix display to sport, and all the graphical improvements. And they also talk about, I think the features that they talk about below the 3 dot points, which is below the deluxe product for Arcuda video pinball cabinet. They actually show a picture of the cabinet and then they go into detail. So it's probably important to realize that things like hang on, just reading live, deluxe options, do it live.
Do it live. That makes for great radio.
And deluxe options, which include touchscreen gameplay and real pinball parts support, including flipper cores. That is only for the Arcuda dedicated pinball cabinet. So just be aware of that. It's just the usual plug. And then they highlight the free-to-play tables for the month. And literally that's it. That's your newsletter.
I'll mention real quick with the Pinball Tournaments app and the real cash.
Cash.
So I didn't deposit any cash. I had won cash via opening achievements.
Okay.
So I started with $3. And each entry, if you do the basic small entry, is 60 cents basically.
Oh, okay.
But you can win $1.
How's that work?
I don't know how it works.
Who's making money there? Jeez.
It's all weird. But anyway, I like tanked my first 2 matches. I was like, oh no, I only got 1 more match and then I won't have any money. And then I went on a streak and won 6 in a row. So
you're
currently
rolling in real cash.
Currently my winnings are at $5, and we're gonna try and get that up to $10 because I'm only paying the dollar matches. Because once I get up to the $10, then maybe I'll actually throw down for one of the $5 matches and really increase the money.
So what do you win with a $5 match?
$3.
What? So you get $5 plus $3 winnings.
It's something like that, yeah.
$8 back essentially. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you lose, you only lose $3. So it's
okay.
I don't know. I can't quite figure out what's going on.
That's bizarre. Anyhow, whatever.
All I know is that it certainly makes your palms sweat a little bit more when you have a bad game.
I bet it does.
and there's certain players. There's certain players that I've been being matched up with in the basic version, what they call practice mode, where no cash is on the line. I've been playing against the same 2 players for 2 weeks now. That's all that I get paired up with. I don't get paired up with anybody else. That's really annoying. And one of the players, they'll have terrible games, every like 3rd game. And so I feel fine, like if I have a bad game, maybe it'll be on their bad game and I'll still be able to win or whatever. This other player just is thumping me. And I'm like, please don't be in the cash game yet, because as soon as I see your name pop up, I'm going to be like, oh man, I just lost that one. So I did have, and this is prior to the cash game being updated with it. I had some issues with the game, and I notified Flippy Floppy about it. But the prime issue, and see if you think this is fair. So if you are familiar with Fireball at all, which is what this table basically is, if you lock a ball then appears in the shooter lane.
Yep.
However, if you have 2 balls active at the same time, and you have 1 ball start to go down the drain, and then you lock the ball, what happens? Well, if you're going out the out lane, right, there's obviously triggers in the out lane, and the sound effect of the astronaut dying, going, ah, happens.
Okay.
So if that sound is triggered, but my ball still has not, like we're talking 2 balls simultaneously in motion. So ball number 1 has gone down the outline, has triggered that sound effect. Ball number 2 is headed straight for the lock, has not quite locked yet, but then locks, and then the ball that was in the out lane finally hits the center drain and drains.
Yeah.
What do you think happens?
Okay.
Do I get a ball in the shooter lane and continue on the same ball, or does it say that I am lost the ball and now have moved on to the next ball?
Oh, it does the latter, doesn't it?
It does the latter.
So it actually invalidates the ball that's in the lock and classes it as a ball 2 from ball 1.
Yep. And then even better is if it happens really simultaneously, you'll get 2 balls in the shooter lane, because it registered that the ball went to the lock and it needs a ball in the shooter lane, but it also registered the exact same time that it was draining, and you're on to a new ball. And so the guys at Farsight, they Rob Flippy Floppy, he specifically was just like, I've always wondered why 2 balls could go get into the lane at the same, in the plunger lane. I went, yeah, that's why, because your trigger on the out lane isn't officially calling it an end ball or a drained ball. It's waiting for the trigger in the center.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah, don't link the out lane. Like, link the out lane switches to points and sound, but don't link it to game state. That's essentially what the problem is.
If you had any other pinball that you were playing that had ball save flashing, and the ball went through the out lane, it would give you a new ball.
Yes.
And count it as the same ball. It's not going to still wait for it to actually hit the center drain and then go, oh, nope. It stopped blinking before it went center drain. You didn't make it in time. No, that's not the way it works.
No.
It knows the ball is dead.
That's
unless
right.
they're doing death saves, which
Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. Hey, you know what? If you can do a death save, good job.
Yeah.
I feel you should be rewarded.
Yeah, exactly. If you get that ball back into play again, have fun time with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I found that to be rather annoying. And then I had another issue where the game was just suddenly crashing. I had two balls locked, and then I'd go and hit the captured ball to release both those balls, what they call ion multi-ball. And as soon as I hit that ball, the whole game would go and kick me out to the phone menu. And then, of course,
do you lose your
when I go back into the app, it counts that as an aborted attempt, and so anybody that plays against me automatically wins.
Oh, that's not cool.
No, that's not cool either. So I made sure I reported that. Also,
yeah, that's when you're playing. The thing is, when you are playing for real cash,
it's going to make me get livid.
Yeah, that's right. Like a game crash is like, oh, well, that's crap normally. But then when you're playing with cash, it's like, I'm going to hunt you down. I'm going to like squeeze that $5 right out of your wallet.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what's going on with that. Okay. I've got two more bits of news. I'm going to save the last bit of news because it's not really vital or anything. It's not news either, but it's just correspondence. But remind me, talk about Zen and controllers. Talk about Zen and controllers. But what Zen tweeted out this week was basically congratulations to another publisher. Company is L17. The developer is Villa Gorilla, and they have a new game out called Villa Gorilla. Villa Gorilla, I know. They have a new game out called Yoku's Island Express, and normally I wouldn't pay any attention to this kind of thing. But the sheer fact that Zen tweeted out, and it was not even Zen, it was Pinball Effects doing the tweet saying, "Hey, congratulations on this game." I went, that's kind of bizarre. So I clicked on the video link, and lo and behold, it's a platformer type game using pinball controls, so flippers and bumpers, and that kind of made me go, that might be up my alley. I don't know. So contacted the publisher, said, hey, we do a podcast. What do you say? Do you want some promotion, if you will, or at least a review of your game? And they complied and gave me the review code. So I've been playing that for the past couple of days. I think I've put in about 12 hours on the game.
Okay.
Which was enough to actually finish the main story mode of the game.
Okay.
More than enough to get an idea of
what it's like.
And I will say this. You know that feeling when you're playing pinball machines that kick your butt and you go, just one more. I can just go. And next thing you know, it's been 2 hours.
Yes.
That's this game.
Right. Okay. So incredibly playable, incredibly repeatable in what you want to
do. So what it is you are a dung beetle that lands on this island with what more or less is a pinball. It's shiny and it's round and it's not colored like poo. So that's why I'd say it's a pinball. However, it has all the qualities of some other substance in that it floats. It doesn't have any bounce. So basically what this pinball, the dung beetle basically has a leash on it, if you will.
Okay.
And pushes it, but if it's downhill, then the ball rolls and pulls the beetle along.
Okay.
And so if it's on a downhill, any kind of gravity, once gravity takes over, it feels like an actual pinball rolling. And basically this island, the way it's set up, you get into these junglish areas or whatever, and there is flippers and pop bumpers of sorts. When I say pop bumper, it's more like a it's still activated by your flipper controls, but it punches out.
Oh yeah.
So if the ball rolls near it, you punch it and it'll send the ball flying. So it's not a flipper; it's more of a punch.
Very much like the Space Cadet or Pinball Cadet punchy fists. Yeah.
Yes, but down on and this isn't in all levels that are within this game, but there are some sections that very much resemble Pinball Machine in terms of there's outlanes or call them in lanes more than that.
Return lanes.
The return lanes, yeah. But there is 2 flippers at the bottom of those, and in between them is a thorn patch. You don't want to go in the thorn patch, but if you do, then your ball will plop down below it, and a plunger kicks it back out up onto the main field, if you will.
Okay.
And instead of points, you're scoring these fruit bubbles. You collect the fruit bubbles. They go into your little wallet. By having the fruit bubbles, you're able to unlock other plungers that are spread throughout the jungle that you're in. Which
so they give you access.
Areas. Get you access to new areas.
I see. Cool.
So the layout of this,
like Wumpa fruits.
I'm not familiar with this kind of genre of game other than I played a thing on my PlayStation Vita called Loco Roco. This very much reminded me of that in terms of most of your map and where you're going is fogged out until you're able to access that area, and then all of a sudden, the fog clears. But your exploration of these areas is very maze-like. So you get into an area, and you try and do some things that are in there, but then something inevitably leads you out of the area, and next thing you know, you're a couple of areas away from it, and you're like, wait a second, was I doing something back there? And then you try and get yourself back to that, and you're like, how do I do this? And so it kind of winds up being a maze of getting through it. So somebody said it reminded them of Castlevania or Metroid.
Oh, right, okay.
In that respect. And so that's where the addictive part of it comes, because in my mind, I'm like, well, let me clear out an area so I don't have to come back to it.
Yeah.
But inevitably, you have to leave the area to go do something else
in the story
be able to, not necessarily story mode, but it's like they give you all sorts of different tasks, different missions. There's different people, island natives, if you will, whatever, scattered around that be like, oh, hey, do you want to help me? Oh, hey, can you do this? And because it's pinball and you're flipping and you can't see the entire area of where you're going, you're like, well, I wonder where this flipper takes me. And you start flipping, and next thing you know, you're on a habit trail that takes you over a whole completely different area. And you're like, okay, wait, do I explore this area that I'm in right now because it wanted me to, or do I go back to my other area? And inevitably, I just kind of was always like, well, let me just see what's going on here.
Yeah, let's just see what's over here.
And next thing I know, I've got 6 different missions open of things that I can do, and I'm literally going, wait, oh crap, how do I get back to way over there? And you can do a map zoom out and see the entire world, but it's not super duper detailed. So you think that you're like, oh yeah, the path goes right through here. Yeah, easy to get back. And then when you go back in and you zoom in, you realize, oh yeah, there was that one little tiny riser that my ball can't get past.
Yeah.
And in order to get past it, it takes you 6 moves of going all the way around, kind of thing, to get through that area. So there's where the frustration aspect of it comes. But so in terms of how does it play as pinball, like I said, the ball don't bounce, so you're not going to be doing any dead flips or dead passes. You're not going to be doing tip passes. There is no ball spin. It's not that kind of
It's not a pinball simulation. It's a game with pinball components, interactive elements.
Yeah. It's pinball is how you navigate, but it's not a pinball game per se.
Yeah.
But the pinballer in me still was having a blast, playing it and going around. So I wind up completing the entire story mission, but then there's all these treasure chests hidden around. There's these little things that are planted in the ground that are hidden around, and there's where the true mystery of it all is, because now you're trying to figure out, how do I get these? Where is the secret passage? What do I have to do to access this stuff? There's a lot of water around, and you can see things in the water, but you're not able to dive because your ball floats until you get this little thing that attaches to your ball as a fish, and then the fish can swim it, and so then you can dive. So there's a lot of areas that you go past and you're like, but there's something in there and I can't, and then you have to wait until later in the game to be able to access it. But of course, by that point, you've kind of forgotten what was down there.
So how do you? What's the mechanic like when you? Oh, so you've obviously finished the game. So
Yeah.
can you go just level to level and select where you start from?
No.
Oh,
No,
so
it's not that kind of game. So what they have instituted, there is what they call the beeline, and it's basically a series of cannons that will shoot your ball. And there's 3 different beelines, if you will, that swarm around different areas of the park. So you're able to rapidly get from one end of the map to the other end of the map.
right,
But sometimes it's a bear just trying to figure out how to find the correct plunger that will even get you onto the beeline.
right.
There's also an entire underground area that there is no rapid access to. Uh,
Wow.
so at the point of the game that I'm in now, where I'm just hunting down secrets, it's okay because uh, I'm not worried about missing anything. I'm just about I need to explore this area that's over here. Let me pop over to it and clear it out as well as I can.
Yeah.
But like my son wanted to know what the final boss battle was, which was it was an insane bit of pinballing with multi-ball going on. It was
Oh wow.
it was kind of fun. All these other uh, troops were like, "You need our help," and so all of a sudden 3 more balls got loaded in, and you're flinging them around, and the big boss was at the top of the playfield, if you will, and kept on launching obstacles on the playfield that you had to smash through.
Cool.
And the other helper multi balls needed to get basically put into ball locks that where their swords were. And
All right.
once you locked all 3 of them, then they would eject again, and now you could actually attack the boss.
Oh, that's cool.
So like I said, it had full on multi ball feel, and there was definite targets that you were shooting for. And if you shot your ball into one of their targets, no, that didn't fly. It had to be them specifically, going into it. But anyway, once I finished it, my son was like, "Oh, I'd like to see that." And I go, "I don't think I can show it to you because I can't go back and just reload it. It's that area is now clear."
Mm.
So that makes me wonder what the replay factor on this is.
I wonder if, well, maybe after hearing this review, they might actually consider making replayability a little more accessible. Because for me, now you go into something like, well, most games really that have a level style play, and if you're going back and you finish the game, you have unlocks to be able to just go and select a level and have fun in it, right?
Yeah.
So it'd
But
be
I think that's
interesting.
what they're saying. Part of the fun is the navigating around, trying to figure out how to get where you need to get.
So do you think that maybe the whole concept of beelines is essentially okay? So go to playfield 1, playfield 2, playfield 3, and essentially each one of those beelines is like a separate playfield universe type of thing.
No, because again, it's not even specifically. They're not even specifically playfields. It's more about going into they have it divided up into like there's what they call it, like Morrow Hill, and then there's the underworld, and there's this ape falls, and this area that's all snowy up in the sky. So there's like different environments,
Hmm.
and within each of those environments are what you would say are a couple of different playfields, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's not like it don't get in your head that when you look at the map, it looks like just a whole bunch of playfields laid out.
Oh
Like
no, I
pinball
wouldn't
machines.
think that. They're
No,
like themes. There'd be like
it's a
a
lot of
clown
themes, and
theme.
there's per area. I would say that there was only really one true called pinball playfield.
Right.
Everything else was navigation purposes, kind of playfield.
So everything else was like platformer.
Yeah, because like there's these what they call man-eating plants, and so long as you have the appropriate attachment or skill unlocked, when your ball goes flying by one of these, you activate the flipper. It'll grab onto your ball, and then you'll all of a sudden spin around in a circle.
Oh yes, I
And then
saw
you
that in
can
the
fling
videos.
yourself off of it and be released. So that's why I say there's a lot of true platforming aspects to the game.
Mm.
Um, and all the mystery hunting, which is what I'm doing. I'm verging on frustration right now because I see areas I need to get into, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how to get into them.
Right.
And sometimes I know that one time I was real frustrated, and it was literally a situation where I just hadn't swam down far enough with my ball or butted up against an invisible wall, if you will. And once I did that, I was like, oh, now I'm in. Oh, sweet. It's all unlocked and clear. So I'm trying to find all of those. But the game is $20. It's available on Steam as well as Xbox One and PS4. For people that like this style of game, I think it's worth the $20. Steam, inevitably it's going to go on sale. I think if it's a $10 game, it's absolutely anybody should just be like, let's scoop in, and have some fun. Yeah, get them and have some fun. If you're just a diehard pinballer, this isn't this isn't the game for you in that aspect. I think you kind of brought up, because for the same price you can buy Pinball Wicked. Yeah, Black Flaggers Pinball Wicked. And you were like, oh, well, what should I do? And I'm like, two completely different experiences. One is,
would you like an orange or would you like an apple?
Yeah, I mean, they're both fruit.
Yeah.
And what's funny though is because I got to kind of thinking about it, and I went, well, here's the deal: Black Flaggers Pinball Wicked. It's basically what you expect out of Zen these days,
right?
But it's just the one table.
Yeah, right.
And so, are you really going to get anything other than something that? No,
it's like the Pro Pinball. It's like the Pro Pinball packaging. Right. Table.
Right. It's like, I mean, you've got something that can look phenomenally way better than Zen has ever put out on one of their tables, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's another pinball table.
Yeah.
So for the same price, you can buy something like this, which gives you some of that pinball experience, but isn't a pinball table in the least.
It's not only a pinball, but it's a platformer as well. So
yeah.
2 games. One.
Yeah, so and I think that's why it really has held my interest, is because it's like, hey, there's these touchstones that I like flipping. That's
yeah.
I like that as a mode of navigation, and we've even commented about how Zen and their storytelling within their tables, that sometimes when people were complaining that it wasn't pinball enough, that it was it's just a video game or whatever, it was like, yeah, but it's using pinball interaction to tell its story.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I categorize this is much, much, much more. That it happens to use pinball stylings to tell its story. But, if you're looking for something that, like I said, I think 12 hours in, I'm 68% done with all the mysteries of the game. All total, by the time I'm done with it, it's probably going to be a 20-hour game once I figure out where everything else is.
So $1 an hour.
$1 an hour, hey, is that worth it? That
seems pretty good to me.
Yeah,
it seems pretty good to me.
So
I'll probably end up getting it.
Yeah, I mean, but I can say without a doubt, I like what I'm playing. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. So good job, Villa Gorilla, and thanks to L17 for throwing
Team
that,
17
or Team 17, excuse me, for throwing that our way so that we can shine some light on it. Like I said, if you're on the fence about it, if you're like, I don't know if I will or if I won't, take the chance.
Yeah, you'll most likely enjoy it if you like platformers and pinball.
Yeah, I mean, it's cutesy at the start, but here's where I would really say, if you enjoyed playing Snowball, if you enjoyed playing Space Cadet, you're gonna love this, because it smokes those in every way, shape, and form.
Right.
Whereas Space Cadet has more true pinball physics, but it's that same kind of idea of bouncing around to different zones and doing different things. That's where the similarity is. That Snowball has a lot more in common, you might say, with this, except for this is done with really good graphics and a
storyline.
and is just way better on pretty much every other aspect, but the physics are similar. So
right.
there's where your comparison is.
Did you ever on PS2? Maybe you weren't on PS2, but there was a game on PS2 called Flipnik, and it was this game with 3 distinct levels, but the levels were huge, and it was true pinball action. Like you're on these tables and you're on play fields, but within the tables, I guess, zone, you would flip off to different segments of the play field. It was all 3D, and yeah, I loved it. Like I played it so much.
No, I'm not familiar with it at all.
Oh yeah, well, I'd love it if someone re-released that on, like, made that available on Steam, because it would be awesome. But it sounds to me a little bit that there's elements of that style of play where you're jumping off to other areas within within a zone or that sort of thing with this game. So I think based on that alone, I think I'd actually probably really enjoy this game.
So this is what I wish that the Far Side game that shall not be named, Orbles.
Horribles.
Horribles, yeah. This is where Farsight should be looking for new IPs. You've got this great pinball following, and you obviously know how to do the physics of pinball. But this kind of game really opened up my eyes to, this is where you could do your offshoot. This is where you could do, so long as you had the design team and everything that could handle this kind of thought pattern. Because again, I'm telling you, man, once you got the whole map open, you just go, "Jeez Louise!" it is a maze. You have to be a maze designer. There's all there is to it. To put this thing together, because it looks like one nice cohesive picture, but then when you're actually navigating around it, you're like, "What the hell?" So
yeah, it's pretty insane.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting way to describe it, I think, too, because a lot of the time when you're thinking of like a platformer style game, I think that's basically how you would make one. It is essentially, unless it's a linear platformer, it would be maze design.
Yeah, I mean, today you think about if you think about your Mario game, they're very much point A to B. When you're in the map world, it's no, I completed this section. Now I'm moving on to the next section, and when you're done with it and you go back, everything is in a straight, navigatable line. It's not these random, how do you get to it kind of situations.
Yeah, you're always moving forward in something like Mario, whereas this, you can go back and around and up and down, and it's sort of like not really 3-dimensional, but it's like 2.5-dimensional. Whereas like Mario, if you were looking at the levels, you could actually lay them flat in a big long broadsheet. They would just appear out like a big linear design. Whereas as this map is like up and down and left and right, and you've got a whole lot more areas that you got to jump between.
Yeah, because to be, and I'll say this: if you were able to just travel left to right unencumbered and up and down unencumbered, it would kind of take a lot of the fun value out of the game. I was hoping that at some point, because it was mentioned in one of the storylines about teleporting, I was like, oh, that would be so nice if I could just teleport to this area and not have to, spend 2 minutes trying to get to it instead. And obviously, when you're down to the nitty gritty of trying to find things, that's all you're concerned about. You're like, oh, do I really have to go all the way back?
Yeah, exactly.
Am I sure that I cleared out every single room? I don't know. So
is there like a % complete on each of the zones?
No.
Do you have it? Oh, see, this would be a good thing to add in later after they've really, because it's only just been released, hasn't it?
It is. What you do win is maps that show you, like within this area, here's all the treasures.
Oh, okay.
So and that's what I'm saying. I can see where the stupid treasures are, but unfortunately, they're in they're in fogged areas, and I can't figure out how to break the fog.
Yeah, right.
So on the one hand, it's like, yay, I know that I've cleared out the areas that I can actually navigate through, but how do I get to the areas that I can't navigate to? So, we'll find out. I think.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not knocking the game for its exploratory nature.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it can get frustrating.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's fine.
So,
Well, yeah, that sounds like a
and
great
who
little
knows?
title.
Also, this is why I say replayability. Once I'm done with this, I might start it up again and just see how quickly then I can get through stuff,
So
knowing
clear
where
your
I need to go.
progress. Clear your progress and go speed run. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that might be a good idea. Maybe that would be, because it's always tough on the first run through the game because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So it'd be like it'd be great if you could set up like another profile in the game and say, right, I'm going to speed run this.
Well, you can. I think it can record 3 different scores.
Oh, sweet. So you could totally do that.
Yeah.
So you could have your core one that you're just working through yourself, and then you could speed run your way through. I reckon that'd be fun. A fun way to actually do it and see what you could unlock. Yeah. Wicked.
Anyway, so there you go, folks. Check it out. Again, the name is Yoku's Island Express.
Now, da-ding, da-ding, you have a reminder. Zen and controller.
Ah, yes. So I've been playing. I use my PS4 controller to play, and if people want to know why I use a PS4 controller instead of an Xbox 360 controller, well, when it comes to pinball, it's really easy, and that is the way I grip my controller. I hold it very low, and I'm showing this for those that are watching the video. I hold my controller very low so that my fingertips are just on the buttons.
Just on the triggers? Ah.
Yes. If I'm playing on a 360, you need to have full grip.
Yeah.
With your hands fully engulfing, and then that's when your left thumb is actually going to be on that left stick more likely. My problem is that on 360 controller, the way I hold it, my thumb would be going to the D-pad instead of the left stick that's up here. So if I want to nudge, I can't do the nudge.
That is quite natural. Like I've got my Xbox 360 controller here, and it is a natural feeling to actually want to put your finger there on the thing. But if you've got long hands, you can actually go like that. And
so anyway, yeah, I mean, I know people that play it that way. I just find that the full grip is better if you're playing triggers. If you're playing triggers, then it makes complete sense to do that. And that's why if I'm playing like a first-person shooter, I'll throw on the Xbox 360 controller and it feels natural. It's fine. But I do find my hand cramps when I'm holding the 360 controller as opposed to the PlayStation controller, which I'm very loose on my grip with when I play. So with playing with that with Steam, for a while I was having to use a third-party app called DS for Windows to make my controller function. And then Steam wound up integrating PS4 controllers into their what's called big
controller stack.
But into their thing. And that way a game could, if you were playing with your controller, instead of having to translate Xbox button configurations to what your X's and B's and Y's, well, instead you would just have circles and triangles and squares, like standard PlayStation symbology.
Right, cool.
Now, not all games have integrated this in this manner.
Farsight.
Farsight. Well, no, and what I'll say is, if you're using Big Picture or using the Steam's integration, it will actually function within Farsight. You don't get
the button hints.
You don't get the button hints, and there's also a little bit of a frustration factor in that the controller's not quite like on a PS4 controller. You've got the touchpad that can act as a mouse control. Well, then you don't get that functionality.
Right.
There are certain functions that for some, and it varies game to game. Me playing Yoku's Island Express, I had to use either the DS for Windows or use Steam's controller configuration.
Right.
Here's the deal. If I do that with Zen Pinball FX 3, navigation, it skips tabs.
Oh, does it?
There's something going on that it skips tabs. And it skips every other one. And I'm like, well, that's really bizarre. Now, the only reason why I even approached this was because usually what I do is I just plug my controller in. I don't have the profile set up at all in Steam, and it treats it as just a 360 controller. But I wasn't getting any rumble feedback anymore. And I used to get rumble feedback in this. So that's when I started kind of experimenting around and seeing what was going on. And when I did it through the Steam's version, I was like, yeah, I got rumble, but I can't navigate for crap. And it's skipping tabs, and there's no way for me to highlight those tabs unless I go then use my mouse to try and do it. So anyway, I ran through this whole scenario, and I was like, okay, enough's enough. And I contacted Zen and sent them a, if you will, a bug report. They got back to me within a day and were like, tell us more.
All right.
So I was like, okay. So I ran through 3 different controller configurations, one being with DS for Windows, one being with Steam's big picture control, and one being no controls whatsoever, just plugging the controller directly into the PC and seeing what it does. And reporting back on what I found. And the reason why I also say this, I'm also been playing Rise of the Tomb Raider again now that I have a graphics card that can handle it.
Yes.
Again, no PS4 configuration. I just plug the controller in. It works like a charm. Everything's beautiful. So various games, it functions just perfect. Other games, it doesn't function so perfect. So my point to Zen was, you guys are a pretty polished product. And I stated this in my email. And I'm just saying, as much as I'd love to have Rumble just be put in, and if you could solve that because you had it when you first introduced the game, and then for some reason it stopped recognizing the controller, probably when they introduced the Jurassic Park pack. Is when I think that happened. So I go, if you can figure out a way to get the Rumble back in, fine. But with as polished as you guys are, maybe you should look into integrating the PlayStation icon and fully recognizing the controller and just taking it that one extra step. And then they got back to me and were like, thanks, it's all really helpful. We'll pass this along to our guys and see what they can do. So good customer service.
That's really good.
We'll see what happens. But I was pleasantly surprised at how quickly they got back to me.
That's very good. Well, that's pretty typical of Zen, though, right? Like they're pretty good with those sort of things. Yeah, so, that's really cool.
So, anyway, that's all that was new for this week, Jared.
Well, that's a fair bit of new stuff. Yeah.
I'll mention for those that are interested, since it's at the very end of the podcast, I went and saw this movie called Unbound. Wait. Unlocked. No, now I'm completely missed on what it was. It's not Unbound. It's not Unlocked. Upgrade. That's what the word I'm looking for. Upgrade. It was. See,
words are hard.
They're hard. Yeah. Anyway, it's this low budget sci-fi movie that came out. Basically, it's about a guy that gets who's a paraplegic, gets a chip implanted into his neck, and suddenly he has kind of control of his limbs. His brain is sending signals through the chip, and the chip is the thing that's actually then translating it. Only thing is the chip starts talking to him. And the chip starts talking to him, and at one point he gets into a fight and he's getting his butt kicked, and the chip is like, I can take care of this for you if you'd like. And he goes, yes, fine, you have complete control. And the next thing you know, he's just walloping the ever-living crap out of the the assailant.
Wow.
I just want to point out it's a fun bit of sci-fi that for some reason, even though it has very little in common with it, reminded me a lot of RoboCop.
Right.
And when I say that, it's because of it's could have been an incredibly cheesy movie. And instead, real quickly, it wins you over to its side, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go with this." And, and it's it just becomes fun to watch and see what they do. There's nothing deep meaning in it. It's not hard hitting sci-fi. It's essentially, if you watch Black Mirror on Netflix, it's essentially a larger budgeted episode of that with really good fight choreography. But that's not a knock on it. This movie is produced by Blumhouse, which means it cost less than $5 million to make. Right. And for what they do with their money, they do a pretty dang good job with it.
That sounds good.
Yeah, they actually filmed it down in Melbourne.
Okay.
So
there you go.
But anyway, I just wanted to, it's summer, and this is the kind of movie that just would get swept under the rug. So keep your eyes peeled. Maybe when it comes on video or whatever, that you'll want to check it out.
Check it out. Oh, it's a good one. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that.
Alrighty. Beyond that, hey, if you want to contact us, why don't you do that via Twitter? Is a really spectacular method of doing that. The show is at BlahCade, or you can contact myself. I am at Shut Your Traps, and Jared is at Jared Morgs. Make sure you also stop by our website, which is we've just found out this week. Don't type in HTTP.
S before the link. Or
just type in BlahCadePinball.com/episodes and you will find our site. It's a short URL kind of.
Yeah, we use a service called Rebrandly, and what it does is it meant that we originally, when I set up the Medium site, I thought I could actually get a custom domain registered for them, and I couldn't. So I had to think laterally, and I used this URL shortener and rebranding service to allow us to still use our domain name, but jump off to a completely different site. And it turns out that they don't use the secure protocol, the HTTPS protocol. They used to use HTTP. So if you put S in front, it goes screwy. So don't do that. Just go BlahCadePinball.com/episodes and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Or just go to medium.com/BlahCade Pinball Podcast and you'll find it there too.
Yep.
So there's plenty of ways to skin the cat.
But the reason why you might want to go visit our site and check out our episodes is that when Jared does these posts, he oftentimes drops in video clips of everything that we've been talking about, or web links to things that we've been talking about. So it's definitely worth checking out and seeing, rather than just blindly downloading the episode. Go to the site, check it out, and you can see
a rich experience.
Exactly, a richer experience. He puts a lot of work into it, and it's definitely worth checking out because it's a couple times when I've gone and looked, I was like, oh, look at what he found. That's cool. Rather than me having to go search YouTube for it, it's bam, right there.
It's right there in your face.
Exactly. So, alrighty. Well, that's enough from us. We will be back next week talking about what? Don't know. It's a mystery.
Who knows?
Even
who knows? Yeah, even to us.
we really wish that we had some, we had 3 weeks of really good news, or news, not necessarily
debatable.
It was good.
Debatable about good.
And now we're like coming off the high and just going, oh man, there's nothing left. Oh man, I honestly don't believe we're gonna hear squat about anything until June 30th. That date's gonna just come and go, and then we're gonna be floating in the ether.
It's going to be floating, I reckon, after that. Whatever happens, which we don't actually know. But I reckon there's a good chance that something will happen after June 30.
At least we're crossing our fingers.
We're hoping.
That it is.
We're hoping. Otherwise, we're going to have to start doing cabaret or something on the show because we have nothing else to talk about.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, it's a mystery what we'll be talking about next week. But hey, tune in anyways because we'll talk. I guarantee that.
We'll be here.
All right. Well, until next time. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.